Give me a yes or a no in the chat. Yes, can you guys hear me now? Alright, I'm just gonna wait until you guys give me a thumbs up in the chat. Oh, no voice. Yeah, people are catching on that there's no voice. We accidentally had the loves not connected. Let's try that again. Welcome, guys, back to Front Row 2020. I'm your host. Actually, we'll do a countdown. Let's do it again. Here we go. Nothing bad happens. All right. Hey everyone, welcome back to Front Row 2020. Nothing went wrong at all there. Don't worry about that. There was no technical difficulties. We've got this all under control. Everything you see is done perfectly, so wouldn't worry about that at all. I'm Ryan Hayward. I'm your host of Front Row 2020. I'm also the CEO and founder of Pitchroof, the community of over 85,000 designees and their business who are actually pulling all this fancy production together. I hope you guys like that little intro there. Yeah, I see you guys are loving it. Hey again, what's up? I see everybody in the chat going crazy. That's awesome to see. But yeah, like I said, nothing goes wrong here at all. And if it does, we just roll with the punches. So if you guys are going to be sharing pictures or videos, we really encourage you to do that. Make sure you use the hashtag FrontRow2020 and tag us at Pitchroof, whether it be on Instagram or Twitter. I see you guys sharing like crazy stuff. We've got selfies happening. We've got notes being shared. It's really cool to see. Also, a huge thanks to our sponsors, Adobe XD and Holobrief. Without them, this type of event could not be possible. And yeah, we really do appreciate their support. So please go check them out in the description. Definitely worth a look at both their products if you haven't discovered them already. For the few of you that are watching and aren't on our Slack community, you should definitely check that out. We push notifications to you every time we're live. You can also meet other event attendees and network and collaborate with them. And we also got some exclusive other stuff on there too. And also, guys, this year we've introduced a VIP pass. So if you want to rewatch sessions, or if you've missed a session and you want to catch up, you can do that with our VIP pass. That's an exclusive benefit for VIPs. You also get access to mentoring sessions and a ton of other goodies. So the link is in the description for that one too. And also, while you're at it, you might as well check out our virtual expo. There's heaps of goodies you can get, whether it be a discount or a free ebook or something like that. There's heaps of good stuff. All right, so now let's talk about what we're doing here in this live Q&A session. So for the next 2 to 3 hours, we've got about 6 different content experts joining us in the creative community. For example, upcoming in like 5 minutes, not even that, we've got Blesson Varghese and Dane Walker. And then following them in 45 minutes after that, we've got Ian Paget and David Henderson, which is going to be steered a little bit more towards branding and using social media as a brand identity designer or as a freelancer or an agency. And then to finish it off, we've got Dot Lung and David Talas, and that conversation will probably mostly be directed around Instagram, I presume, but who knows what shenanigans we'll get up to. All right, so let's start off by introducing our first 2 contenders for today. First off, we have Blesson Varghese. Bless, are you there?
Hey man, what's up, everybody? So super excited to be joining here, and I'm doing good. Thanks. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. And then secondly, but definitely not least, we have Dane Walker. Dane, are you there?
What's up, man? How we doing?
I'm super excited for you to be here. How about you guys give each other and to the people watching at home a 30-second introduction about who you are and kind of what type of content you're pushing out online. So we'll start with you, Bless.
All right. Yeah, so talking about me, I'm a freelance brand identity designer. I've been doing freelancing for the past 4 years, and I specialize in visual and brand identity. And I focused, started with Instagram, and now, transitioning into all the other social media platforms. And that's what I do. I also host a podcast called The Bless Show. Ryan has also been a part of that, and he has been the earliest guest on the podcast as well. And yeah, that's pretty much about me, and we'll get to talk about more on the session.
That's awesome. And Dane?
Hey man, what's up? So I'm Dane. I run a company called Victory Front, which I started 12 months ago, and so we focus on helping brands get their social media presence and make sales online. We do that through design, content, websites, funnels, coaching, mentoring, leadership, financial advice, and a bunch of other things. But yeah, our goal as a company is to help people get on the online space and then crush it while they're there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So we'll try to be steering this conversation more around content creation and social media as a creative person or as someone who runs an agency or a freelancer. But what we're going to be doing for everyone who's watching, we're going to start off with a couple of questions that I've already pre-prepared. And during this time, I want you guys to actually ask both Bless and Dane questions, and even potential questions for me that we can all collaborate on with answers. So if you want to ask questions, like it says in chat, type !Q and then followed by your question, and it will appear on my iPad here so I can ask these two fellas over here. All right, so yeah, !Q and then your question in chat. All right, let's get into the first couple of questions I have here. The first question is, how can distributing free content online drive new clients? Let's start with you, Dane. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I think this topic's been covered a lot in the community, but I think there's a misconception oftentimes as to how much you should give away for free and how exactly to do that as well. So I can only speak from my philosophy and what I teach my students and my clients, and that is to give away everything you possibly can and to out-teach the competition. That's not my terminology. I borrowed that from I can't remember his name, is a chef, and he used a metaphor. No, it was a brand designer. I can't remember who it was, but anyways, the message was, if you wanted to have a show on air, and you're a chef, you'd want to out-teach the competition, and you would get the attention. The same thing happens on social. I teach my students and people in the community to, teach more than the competitors in your space. And by doing that, you're naturally going to get more attention, more conversations with potential clients, and more people interested in your brand.
All right, and I think we've just lost Dane there real quick. Let's jump onto Bless if you could. Oh, we might have you back.
I'm still here, man. Yeah. yeah. So, did you want me to expand on that? I mean, happy to riff.
Go for it.
So from my perspective, when I first started getting on social media, I started doing graphic design work for friends and family and anyone who wanted it. If I could get a $50 job selling posters. Am I cutting out again? Oh, cool, man. I wasn't sure if I was cutting in and out. My apologies. So like my journey just started off, pretty straightforward. I just started making graphic design work for friends. And then I saw Chris Doe posting carousels, and I was like, hey, like, what's this whole carousel thing? And then I saw Jana doing it, Juju, and a bunch of other guys in the community. And I was like, hey, this looks like fun, So I jumped in, I started making carousels. 2 weeks later, people started asking me, hey, man, how much to make this stuff? And in that position for me, it was like, well, I was just creating more carousels than a lot of people and doing it at scale. And through that, through just teaching design and teaching sales and teaching mindset and things like that, I just got a lot of attention. So by just giving away the content for free, and sometimes I'd spend 5 hours a day giving it away for free, and people just kind of thought it was stupid because it was like a massive investment for maybe getting a client. But yeah, I was able to scale rapidly because, just giving away content for free, people had a lot of conversations with me, and then they led into sales.
For sure, true. And it also builds trust. So I think that's why just giving away free content is also super effective. Yeah. Bless, do you care to weigh in? Ooh, maybe we've lost Bless now. I'm not sure where Bless is going. He must have just like left the call or something. I reckon he'll be trying to reconnect. All right, well, I guess we can jump into the second question, Dane, while we wait for Bless to reconnect. So second question is, how do I create content that reaches potential clients, not other designers? So I know personally that I get a lot of DMs of designers going, hey, I'm putting out all this content, like, how do I get more clients, like, on social media? But then I'll look at their page and their content's like, oh, how to design a logo, how to do this with the hashtag logo design and hashtag, designer community. So what are your thoughts on actually creating content that reaches potential clients in the creative space, or like clients for creative services, not just other designers.
Okay, yeah. So from my perspective, I went back to, okay, like, who are my clients? So what are my services? For those of you that want to be able to get clients through social media, you have to ask yourself the question of, like, okay, what am I selling? Why would people find it valuable? What makes me special compared to my competitors? Like, really narrowing your niche, and then through that, it's then creating the content, obviously, and getting the attention and all the rest of it. But I found that through identifying who my target audience was, which was people that want websites, people that want funnels, people that want content creation, people that need help getting their business online, building their social presence, identifying their brands, and learning how to sell. There's a lot that comes on board when you're trying to, I guess, get a brand online and then monetize it. It's not just like put content up. There's much more to it than that. But to be able to get the clients that I wanted, not just designers following me, I had to look at, okay, who's my dream client? And my dream client is someone that runs a business, that has some capital to spend, that wants some help, that maybe they're short on time. And I was like, what problems do these people have? And then I would ask people in my community that did fit that caliber. I asked them, what's the biggest problems that you have? And I reverse engineered that, and then I made content to solve their problem. So I think by identifying who my potential client is, and then making content that solves their problem for free, it's like how-to tips, just general stuff that would be of value, where it's not me trying to sell them. It's just like, hey, I know about this stuff. Here's some tips. Hey, I know about this stuff. Here's some tips. You'll see people like Kerwin Ray get up in front of a crowd and speak in front of an audience, and then he posts that online as content. It's not just him showing off. He's showing that I'm an expert in this space. Look at me in front of a room of 200 business owners. So he's solving problems for business owners and creating content, showing himself in that position. So I wanted to do the same thing with the carousels, and I found by doing that, almost immediately started getting clients from it. And so much so that I had to start literally, and this is not a boast, but I had to decline a lot of potential clients because I just didn't have the capacity to take them on board.
That's awesome. Ooh,
Thanks, man.
It appears that my camera has disappeared. I believe we've got Bless back now. Bless, can you hear us?
Yep, I can't hear you. My internet got cut off, man. As usual, it goes off when
I think I'm having some
I
technical
need
difficulties
it.
on my end, but Bless, can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me?
Yep, I can hear you
They can
perfectly
hear me.
fine.
All right, awesome. So Bless, I'm going to ask you the same question, and it's, how do I create content that reaches potential clients, not other designers? You've got the board. What do you think?
All right, yeah. So pretty much the same points as Dane mentioned, but then again, I'll
I've
be
lost
talking
their
from the
audio.
designer's
Did it go?
perspective and not from a mentor or a agency owner perspective. So what do I do for reaching out to potential clients? Now, when I say that, before this, I also want to take you back to a point where I was in middle of all of this. I was creating content for designers as well. I got sidetracked a little bit because of probably the metrics that I see when people post stuff, and when it goes good, and when you get good engagement and stuff like that. When that happens, you feel the urge to do that as well. But one of the very important factors that is very much important, as Dane mentioned, is to have your target audience fixed. When you create content, create with a purpose, and there should be an intention behind every piece of content that you create. You don't do it just because of somebody's doing it and they're getting good engagement, or they're getting good follows or metrics or stuff like that. But having some sort of specific focus on your content and your target audience is going to really help. And I found out that if you, as a designer, if you need clients, if you need design clients, then design content is what you need to make out. Because sharing how you're going to design that on Adobe Illustrator is going to obviously gather more designers and not get you more clients. But how did you design? What was the process behind you thinking for that logo or for that piece of design content is really going to help get more clients, and clients are going to get get in on board and understand the process that you have. So yeah, I think that is my process, and that's how I take it, and that's how I think designers should, pursue content creation on social media to get more clients.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, so there were a couple of the questions I wanted to start off with. I have a bunch of questions coming through now. So if you guys want to ask questions to everyone, just go exclamation Q and then ask your question after that. I know there's a little bit of lag on the stream from all our speakers, but it's all right. We're trying to fix that as we go behind the scenes, but the audio seems to be fine. So it should be no stress at all. All right. Let's get into this first question here. And it's quite simply, what are ways you can actually earn money through social media? So how can you monetize your creative audience? Now, I actually did a talk about this in the opening keynote, but yeah, well, let's start with you, Dane. What are some ways and some examples of how someone might actually be able to monetize their creative audience at any scale?
Yeah. Yeah, awesome, man. Yeah, I love how you talked about it. So for those of you that haven't seen it, go back and check out Ryan's chat. It was awesome. You nailed it, man. Good stuff.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, so I guess some quick tips would be, one of the biggest fallacies is like, oh, do I have to, like you said, do I have to get to 100,000 to be able to start monetizing? And the answer is no. I started monetizing my Instagram around 2,000 followers, and I mean heavily, like aggressively producing income. And it comes back down to the value that you provide and how clear it is that you provide value. So whether you make coffee beans, you're a personal trainer, you sell content like me, you own a barbershop, you're a plumber, like it doesn't really matter. You just have to display the value that you provide as an expert through your page, through your branding, through your content, and not just on your feed, but through your stories as well, because you can actually do a lot of sales through your stories, and a lot of my sales come through my stories. So the content feed is validation of like, hey, I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm talking about. But for me to monetize social media, it's all about creating quality conversation. And if you don't have people DMing you, asking you questions, and creating a two-way flow of conversation between you and the audience consistently, it's going to be very hard for you to monetize it. So it's not a matter of how big your page is. It just matters how good the conversation is and what you're doing with that conversation. So I would create content in my stories and on my feed that would entice people to come and ask me questions. My bio is like, come chat to me. All of my content on my page, the last slide of it says, comment below or send me a DM. So I'm constantly inviting people, putting the welcome mat out to say, hey, come chat to me. I'd love to know your questions. I'd love to know your problems. And it's through those questions and conversations that I'm identifying potential buyers. It's like if you went down to, the river, like back in the golden days when you would pan for gold in a river, you put the pan in, you have all these pebbles, you shake in the pebbles, trying to find one gold nugget. That's how I look at my DMs. I go on my DMs every day and I'm shaking it for gold. I'm like, where's the golden client in here, And whether that's 3 DMs or 300, there's still going to be gold in there if you have the right conversations. So for me, it's all about creating awareness about, hey, I'm an expert. I know what I'm doing. I'm here to have a conversation if you like. And I do that through my stories and my content. And then I identify, I pre-qualify potential buyers. And then I invite them to a Zoom call. I don't do the sale on the DM. I build interest. I answer questions. I try to be helpful. And then if it gets to the point when they're asking a lot of questions, I would say, hey, look, you got some really good questions. Let's hop on a Zoom call. And then that's when the sale starts.
Gotcha.
I get on the Zoom call. I identify and diagnose their problems. And I discuss it with them for some time until they feel like they've expressed everything they needed to. And then I go, great. Considering everything you've just told me, I would suggest that maybe we explore a website or a funnel or whatever their need is. Yeah.
For sure. You mentioned, Dane, that you started monetizing your audience at 2,000 followers. What was the first thing you monetized with your audience?
Making carousels. So people were like, hey, can I get these from my page? And I was like, sure, and I would do packages. And I just did stacks of those. Yeah.
That's awesome. Bless?
Yep. So quite good points by Dane, and I have some more to add on. As you mentioned that he has these conversations and then leading them on to sales. Now, as a designer, I'll be talking from a designer's perspective because that's what I specialize in. And as a designer, one way that I have monetized my social media is through affiliate links, and I think which is something that a lot of designers and a lot of influencers do. And I think it's one of the easiest ways that you can monetize your social media accounts or anything. So the first step, obviously, I would say that make people trust you. They're not going to get your affiliate links or stuff that you are promoting or stuff that you are putting it out just because you earn from them, but they will only click on it unless and until they trust you. So that comes through authenticity, and that comes through originality, and you sharing your process and your shortcomings and all those sorts of things. When you're so vulnerable with your audience and with the people those who are following you, the people those you want to target as the affiliate clickers. So I would say that affiliate marketing is one of the good ways, personal experience, to monetize your social media or monetize even your social platforms.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, next question coming in is, what if I don't have a degree or only have personal projects in my design portfolio and creative portfolio? How should I portray and sell myself to first clients? Dane, you might be a good one to start with here.
Yeah, I got no degrees.
I'm the same.
Self-taught.
I'm the same.
Yeah, I get this question often. I love this question. Yeah, so yeah, man, there you go, man. You got a classroom full of people with no degrees. So yeah, I think for me, I'm self-taught. So I taught myself how to use Photoshop designing T-shirts back in 2000 and I want to say 2013, which was when I worked in a little retail shop and we were just selling T-shirts. So I kind of always dabbled with graphic design. I've always read books about sales. So my suggestion is, like, when I went to school, I left school, I was like vouching to never educate myself ever again. And until a couple of years went by, and then I kind of realized that, hey, I don't really have skills for this planet. I'm in debt. I don't really have everything I need. I got to upskill myself. So, I take the same approach when it came to building my business. So I was like, I don't know how to make sales online. I don't know how to dominate the content game. 11 months ago, I didn't even understand Instagram, to be completely honest. But my suggestion is, if you're trying to get clients for yourself, it's, hop on social and just start putting your work out. Just start creating fantastic illustrations and graphics, whatever your skill set is. Put it out there and show people what you can do, and then show people, if you can, how to do it. There's a ton of people out there that are trying to teach themselves all this stuff as well. So if you can put yourself in a position to teach others, you're going to get a little bit of an audience. You're going to get some attention. You're going to socialize with some cool people. And simultaneously, through other people kind of in your network seeing you, you might get a, hey, man, in the DMs, hey, like, how much for a logo? Or, I'm sure that, I'm sure that you get, hey, how much for a logo all the time, right? Because he has a fantastic, beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you go to his page and it's just like stacks of beautiful logos. So you got to show your work, and I think the whole thing about having a portfolio. Michael Jordan has a book called Burn Your Portfolio, and he talks about all the different methods by which. And if you don't know who Michael Jordan is, or if you do, you got to get yourself that book. And this is not a plug. I'm not an affiliate. I just love Michael Jordan, and I think that book is underrated. And I think if you're a designer and you're trying to skill yourself to make sales, you need to get yourself resources and tools to teach you how to do it, because a portfolio is not going to make you money. I know people with insane portfolios and they don't make any money, and it's because they're not networking. Money comes through networking and awareness and attention. If you don't have any attention, you're not going to be able to sell anything. So I would focus on, hey, how can I get attention? Let me create some content that does that.
That's awesome. Yeah, and we also have Michael Janda on tomorrow, actually, on our closing keynote for Frontrow2020.
Awesome.
I've been connected to Mike for probably 12, 18 months now. I've kind of seen him had this massive, rapid growth on Instagram in particular, so it's been really good to connect with him. And he's a really cool dude too. So definitely check that one out tomorrow if you guys can. All right, Bless, care to weigh in?
Yep. All right. So, Just as all of three of us are, the first thing that I would like to say is the benefit of doubt that self-taught designers have, that they're not bound to, a traditional approach that design degree holders might have. I'm not saying that they don't have a creative approach or a free approach, but when you're a self-taught, you don't really fear about a lot of things. Obviously, there is fear of failure, but then again, you learn a lot of things on design degrees or design schools, that those pre-made assumptions, you have them on your head, and that's a little bit scary. But when you are self-taught, you are putting yourself out there, you're putting yourself as a vulnerable element out there. And I would say the best thing that has helped me get clients without design degrees is practice projects. Now, just as I mentioned, I'm talking from a designer's perspective, and practice projects have been so helpful. Fun fact, most of the 70% of the projects on my Instagram right now, even right now, they are practice projects. And they do so well, and that is something that has got me the most number of clients for my business. And it is one of the easiest and the simplest way that you can gather more work and build up your portfolio in a way that gets you quality clients. And the second most important thing is, just as Dane mentioned, networking. It's super important for any designer or for any freelancer out there, because if you don't network in this modern day and age, I would say that you're really missing out on the opportunities that you have. I live in India, but I work with clients from Australia, from United States, from UK, and from all parts of the world. So how does that possibly happen? Is through networking and putting yourself out there and being genuine and really using your social media to gather those clients. So I would say, yeah, practice projects is something that has helped me a lot to build my portfolio even without design degrees, and obviously never stop learning. That is the most important thing that I've learned, and I always suggest people that never stop learning, even if you think you are an expert, or even if you think you are you have specialized in some sort of design niche. Never stop learning.
Couldn't agree more. And actually, that's kind of how I started. So I started freelancing at the age of 14, so like 5, 6 years ago now. And then, so how I started, obviously no experience, no degree, nothing like that. I actually entered design contests online, and then through that process, I understood how to communicate with clients, how to understand briefs, how to actually deal with feedback and criticism. And through that process, I actually started to build a process of building a portfolio, and then that started to build some clientele, and that kind of positioned myself into what I'd call a fairly sustainable freelance business. Yeah, you definitely don't need a portfolio or a degree to try to gain the first clients. All right, we'll see what other questions are coming in here. You guys are seeing them heaps now. A quick reminder to type !Q in the chat, followed by your question. And sorry if there's a little bit of lag on our speakers' ends. All right, next question coming in through is... Oh, there's so many we can choose from. All right, how do you constantly learn and grow as a creative? Dane, it's a fairly broad question, but would you like to kick us off?
Yeah, sure, man. I love learning. I would say that I get frustrated with the little free time I have, because I cannot learn enough. I mean, I buy more books than I can read. But my advice is, if you have, if you have any time in the day where you're like washing dishes, or you're cleaning the house, or you're in the shower, any time where you could potentially be listening to something, I would inject as much knowledge into your day as you can. So if you're used to listening to music when you're doing stuff, like replace that with podcasts that fit your industry and your niche. I've been an obsessive learner for the last, I would say, decade, to the point where I would sell my couch to do a course, to go to a workshop, to do a seminar. Like, that's not uncommon for me. If I find inspiration for something, and I find an individual that I want to learn from, I will sell every piece of furniture I have to be able to learn from that person. I've probably spent at least, I would say, $160,000 in my lifetime in personal development books, programs, courses, workshops.
Wow.
I just think that I think if you inject yourself around those that are doing great things, that you could, even if you go to a workshop and it kind of sucks, you might pick up one nugget that's worth $100,000. You know, so like I went to a workshop, and this sounds really weird, but I went to a workshop in Brisbane where Gary Vee came and spoke, and it was one of those panels where back to back you had people speaking for like an hour trying to sell their crap. Then Gary Vee gets up on stage and he says, "I'm not here to sell you anything," and the audience went nuts. Everyone's like, "Yes," you know, because he just came out and he's like, "I'm just gonna do Q&A.
Yeah.
I don't care about my speech and my agenda. What do you guys want to know?" And he did Q&A for 2 hours. That hit me so hard to the point where I was like, I almost felt like a broken person, because I was like, man, that was so awesome. Like, it shook me up. And at that moment, like, he didn't give me any advice particularly for me, but that feeling of like, you know what, I could do something with my life. This is a really interesting moment emotionally. That emotion stayed with me since that day. That 1 second and that one phrase and that one moment, I was like, whoa, what is this? You know, and I can't even describe it. It's so obscure and so strange. But that one moment, that one experience that I had in that room, despite how difficult it was to get there and how expensive it was and how it kind of threw my whole week out, that feeling triggered me to build this entire business. That was the day I realized that I was sick of my job and I needed to do something about it. So even just being around these people and listening to this type of content, it's going to elevate your mindset. I just try to feed myself books, podcasts, and programs as often as I can.
That's super awesome. And I see we've got a few Gary Vee fans in the chat.
Hey!
Obviously, if you're an entrepreneur, I'm sure you would have heard of Gary Vee. All right, Bless, how do you constantly learn and grow as a creative?
Yeah, some good points. I mean, like almost all the good points. Dane mentioned all the good points, so I'm afraid I don't have very much to add on.
You
But
gotta ask him
I'll
questions
share my
first, man.
All right, Bless, you're up next.
I'll share my personal journey. So what do I do is, something that I learned. I don't remember. I read a book somewhere, and I don't remember the book's name as well. But I read this, that don't just learn, but track what you learn. And this has stuck with me for a very long time. And the reason why I say that, because we are bombarded with so much of knowledge and information and resources right now at this point, that sometimes it gets overwhelming for us. There are heaps of podcasts and heaps of book recommendations. And now with the online scene coming in, we have lots of stuff going on, and we are not made for this much of overwhelm of information and overload of information. But I would say that have some sort of tracking system, maybe a note-taking system where when you learn something, you write it down, or something like My Mind or something like Notion, where you can always insert stuff that you're learning, so that you can go back to it and learn more from that. Because you cannot learn something enough in a one try. When you listen to something on a podcast, it doesn't really go deep down into your mind or into your mindset, but it just covers the outer part of your brain, and you gotta brew on it. You gotta learn more about it, get in depth. So I would say that as much as you consume these resources, podcasts and books and stuff like that, have a tracking system that you can always go back to. And the other thing I would say is, don't wait for stuff to learn from books and podcasts and resources. But I would say social media is one of the great platforms where you can learn. There's so much of information from amazing people like Dane. They're sharing all their processes out there on social media, and rather than comparing yourself to them, I would say learn from them what they are doing differently, and probably apply those things in your process. And in that way, it's a win-win for everybody out there, and you will grow. You are learning from them as well as you're engaging to your content. So yeah, tracking your stuff when you learn, and then not waiting for all the generic sources of learning, but using as much platforms as you can to learn. It's really helpful for me.
That's awesome. I want to ask you guys this, coming back to social media. If you guys had to start tomorrow from zero, no one knows who you are, you've got zero connections, you've only got the knowledge you've got now. If you had to start your social media from zero, would you change anything? How would you go about that process? Bless, we're going to start with you this time, so Dane can't steal your answers. I'll just shove with that real quick.
Yeah, so all right.
Watch Bless
So
steal Dane's answers.
I would say if I start tomorrow, would I change anything? Yes, I would say yes. I would have some sort of master place that I would lead my sources to. And what do I mean by that? When I started out on Instagram solely. I didn't have any website. I didn't have a portfolio where I was sharing my stuff or anything like that. Because I started it just as a hobby. I didn't have any strategy or something to set as my goals. But I started just solely on Instagram. So I would say I would start with having at least a website, or if not a website, probably something like a Behance portfolio or Dribble or something like that. And then moving on to the social platforms like Instagram and Twitter, and being very intentional about how I do it. And rather than just, going with the flow, and rather than just doing what is trendy, I would have an intention to what I am posting out. And then I would post with intention. So yeah, that is something that I would change if at all I have to start over from tomorrow.
That's awesome. And Dane?
Cool. So for me personally, when I started out, I was definitely hiding behind my content for a number of reasons. My personal confidence in my personal value as an individual was really low. And I knew I had power as a person, but I just felt like people wouldn't care as much. So I just focused more on the knowledge. I focused more on the lessons and more on the graphics and the content, and just tried to, yeah, I didn't get my story as much, and I just had, a lot of people criticize me behind the scenes and colleagues and such. And so like, I would just go all out personal branding from the get. I think if I could go back, I would have been more vocal. I would have been more opinionated. I would have been in my stories a lot more. Like, I'm telling you right now, if I was aggressive in my stories when I started, I'd probably be at 200K right now.
Gotcha.
Because I definitely neglected stories. I think Instagram specifically, if we're talking about that as a platform, I think that, yeah, people should get in their stories a lot more and share more of their personality, their personal life, behind the scenes, their struggles, just their journey and their story, like connect. Ever since I started injecting my personality, I've started going live. I started going on my stories a lot more. People feel way more connected to me. I'm converting way more interesting clients, I'm just finding that the reward for exposing myself has been fantastic. People have sent me DMs saying that they connected with what I've spoke about, or they saw my live and they saw me talk about my childhood, and they're like, "Man, that's crazy! Like, you've inspired me to start my business." So my impact on a personal level has been greater since I've personally branded myself a lot more and expressed my opinions and vocalized a bit more. So yeah, for those of you out there, and I talk to a lot of people, and they're really scared to do that. And I just want to say, like, who cares? Who cares what people think? There's someone's going to hear you say something, and someone's going to see you show how vulnerable you are as a person, and that through that authenticity, you're probably going to help a lot more people than if you hide behind your content.
For sure, definitely. Someone asked, what is Dane drinking?
Oh, plug. So this is a sugar-free Monster Zero Ultra Energy drink.
All right, Monster, if you're watching, sponsor us and we'll be happy.
It's good. Tastes good. No sugar.
Dane.
It's great. Gets me fired up.
I love it. We've got time for a couple more questions, I believe. Someone is looking for some book or podcast recommendations. What are we thinking? I got a podcast recommendation, The Blush Show. By
yeah.
Come on, man. It's perfect plug, dude. Get in there.
Where's the right hook?
Yeah.
Blash, you can kick us off though. Any book or podcast recommendations?
All right. Yeah, so podcast recommendations, obviously, The Bless Show. You can find it on all podcast platforms. It's about helping the solo entrepreneurs, specifically solo entrepreneurs, boost their business skills, and not just creative stuff, but also the business side of it. So I would say that. And as a designer, I also love the Logo Geek podcast. It's an amazing podcast by Ian. I see that he's online as well. So
got him on next.
The Logo Geek podcast, and at the same point of time. Yep, and at the same point of time, I would also tell people to go and check out the future. So podcasts are obviously design focused, but the books I would like to recommend is one of the amazing books that I read by Harry Beckwith. It's Selling the Invisible. It's about how you can sell your content it's not about selling your products, but selling your content. So selling the invisible, as we're talking about social media, I would like to say The Art of Social Media. It's by Guy Kawasaki, I think. And one more amazing book that I think people should read, because as content creators, what we sometimes forget that we have to be good writers as well. And I don't mean that writing a novel or writing a fiction book, but writing is very much crucial when it comes to social media. And I would say everybody writes. There's a book by Anne Handley, if I'm not wrong. Everybody Writes. It's an amazing book that people can look up for and learn from these resources. So yeah, I would say these are the books that I personally recommend, and it would be really helpful for people beginning up.
That's awesome. And Dane?
Cool, man. I'll share my favorites, and then I'll throw in a few extras.
Sure.
So my personal favorite books of all time, the first one is The Richest Man in Babylon. Old school book. Really cool. It talks about like the relationship that people have with money. It's quite an old book. It's one of the oldest books of all time.
Oh, wow.
But it's got a lot of little stories in it. So for those of you that struggle reading an entire book, it's a great book to start with, because you read one chapter and it's a whole story. Another favorite is How to Win Friends and Influence People. I think we all talk too much and listen too little. I think that book is full of gems. Think and Grow Rich is another great book with little stories in it that can keep you inspired and thinking outside the box. Personal favorites would have to be The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. That shook me up. That book is really intense. And Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. That book is crazy. I read that book and it literally started changing everything I did in my life, because I started realizing that everything was my fault. As soon as you realize that, hey, everything that happens to me is because of me, and you take actual ownership of that, all of a sudden, like when I really seriously started taking ownership of my whole life, that's when I started building this business. Things started taking off. I stopped blaming people. I stopped blaming my circumstances, and I just got to work. So that was a really great life-changing moment. Podcasts would have to be, you guys all know the big ones, right? Like The Future and Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
That's kind of entertainment or whatever, but I love listening to Joe. But yeah, some good gems out there would probably be The Art of Charm. For those of you who don't know those guys, they teach a lot of methods of communication, a lot of emotional, intuitive tactics that you can use to catch yourself in bad states and control your behavior and stuff like that. It's really interesting, real deep stuff. And the Jocko podcast is interesting. He talks about a lot of different approaches of leadership. I think that all too often we lack leadership skills in most cases, and I think that's a good podcast to pick some of that stuff up from. For designers out there, if you're trying to get your hand on designing, check out Michael Jander's books. They're amazing. For those that want to learn about branding, Marty Neumeier, all his books. And for those that want to learn how to, sell stuff and understand the marketplace, Seth Godin. You can't go wrong with any of his books.
This is marketing.
Yeah.
That's always a good book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd also like to add on a few more, like The Atomic Habits. I think it's one of the amazing books that all the individuals should read. Like everybody should read Atomic Habits. And also, there's a book called The Ride of a Lifetime. I don't know if anybody has heard about it. The Ride of a Lifetime. It's an amazing book by the CEO of the Walt Disney. He talks about all the ups and downs of handling the business. So it's an amazing book, Atomic Habits and The Ride of a Lifetime. Yep.
That's awesome. All right, guys, I believe we're almost out of time now. So just before we finish up, I want you guys to give yourself a selfish plug and let everyone know, if they're not following you, where they can follow you online and how they can engage with you best. So we'll start with you, Dane. Where can people find you?
Find me on Instagram. Just look up Dane Walker, Dain Walker, like Johnny Walker, and shoot me a DM. I will talk to you. So if you have any questions, you need help, come talk to me so I can sell you stuff. Other than that, I do have a course where I teach how to blow up your Instagram. So if you're trying to take your Instagram game to another level, click on the link in my bio, and I'll show you how to do it. But yeah, I'd love to chat to you. Anyone that wants to reach out, and I promise I won't sell you too much. I'll have a good conversation and help you out as much as I can.
That's awesome. Very good. And Bless.
All right. So you can pretty much find me on almost all the social platforms with the handle Bless Creatics. That is BLESSCREATICS. Don't worry, that's not a word. I just made that up. CREATICS. So yeah, you can find me on pretty much all the platforms, as well as you can also check out the podcast. That is the Bless Show. And I don't have fancy courses like Dane does, but yeah, it would be cool to chat and talk more about if you have any doubts or questions. Yeah,
That's
that's
awesome.
pretty much it.
That's fantastic. And if you guys have been taking photos, videos, or notes or anything like that, when you share on social media using the hashtag Frontrow2020, don't only just tag me, tag these fellas too on screen over here at Blessed Critics and at Dane Walker so they can see all the engagement as well. Thank you fellas so much for joining. So I believe up next, so we're going to go for a quick 5-10 minute break. Then we're going to come back and we have Ian Pegetz from Logo Geek and David Henderson, who runs an agency in the UK called David Henderson Design. We're going to be talking about branding and how social media can impact that on a freelance or agency business. So don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be back in about 5-10 minutes. See you very soon.
seconds. Just gonna grab a drink. Yep, I'm here.
How are you, David?
I'm good. I'm good. How's you?
Right at this very second, a tiny bit stressed because I'm like nothing's working my end.
It's
Like
so
that,
annoying, isn't it?
Yeah, that camera that camera setup that we had the other day, I had it already. I've been sat here for like the last half an hour or so with it already.
Um,
Ryan, have I got time to try a different camera? So you're okay with this? Because I did have my DLR camera set up. I do apologize. I did originally have my Canon camera set up, but I quickly swapped back over. Yeah. Okay. Good. Just messy.
Speaking about cameras, yeah. Speaking about cameras, guys, mine is gonna set the time off in 30 minutes, so I'll probably switch. Good fun. This is all a bit.
Because now I don't get an echo. Can you hear me now? Yeah, that's fine.
I was so proud of my new setup.
Okay, that's frustrating. I mean, I didn't even know if this was going to work yesterday either.
Okay.
It was. I literally just tested it in Zoom. I think it was OBS that's been playing up. Like I needed to reboot Chrome and then it kind of worked, but then it didn't even work with this camera. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Ooh. Yeah, like 2 minutes.
I literally don't want you to say the same thing.
What are you gonna say? And I'll make sure I don't say it.
It's the Iceland Football Club, the Icelandic rebrand.
Nice.
That is so cool. I don't even like sport, and I literally want to buy a T-shirt with that logo on it. I can see your cameras. Fine.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Q&A session for Frontrow2020. If you're just joining, I'm Ryan Howard, your host of Frontrow2020 and the CEO and founder of PitchRoof. So next we are joined by David Henderson, who runs an agency called David Henderson Design, and Ian Paget, who you probably know as the founder of Logo Geek. So fellas, how are we going?
Yeah, really, really good. How you doing?
That's good. All right, I'm going to get you guys to give yourself a 30-second introduction. So, Ian, we'll start with you. For the people who don't know who you are, give yourself a 30-second introduction.
Sure. So I'm a graphic designer. Most people know me as Logo Geek, and through Logo Geek, I offer logo design services, but also I run a podcast, community, and blog, all specifically for people working on logos.
That's awesome. And David?
Fantastic. Yeah, thanks, Ryan, for having me here. So I run DHD. We were David Henderson Design. We rebranded it to DHD, and we are a person team. We're based in Northern Ireland, and we have the opportunity of working with clients right across the world, mainly branding, digital design, and getting to speak at different places as well.
That's awesome. All right, so we're going to be doing, again, a bunch of live Q&A for about 40-45 minutes, guys. So if you want to ask these guys questions, all you have to do is type !Q in chat, followed by your question. It's fairly straightforward, and then they'll all appear on my little iPad here, and then I'll be able to ask these two legends the questions that you guys are asking. But to start off, I've actually got a couple of questions that I want to get your answers with, guys. So the first one is, how has creating free content online impacted your clients' lead generation? I reckon we might start with Ian for this one. So let us know, how is creating free content, so your blogs, your podcasts, how is that, if it has, impacted your client lead generation as a freelancer?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of free content, I'm assuming that you're meaning freely accessible to anyone. So
Exactly.
if we start with my podcast, I mean, initially it gains credibility to you, to potential clients. People can see that you obviously have a very strong interest in your chosen topic and know what you're talking about. But also with a podcast in particular, I'm able to get sponsors. I'm able to promote things via affiliate links, so it generates an income. But I think more importantly, in terms of content, particularly blogging, that's fantastic for search engine optimization. So when people are searching for you via Google, if you are optimizing your content and building up authority through your website, then when people search, they should find you. And that's how I get most of my clients here today. So, free content builds authority, attracts clients, and makes an income. So, a no brainer, really.
That's a really good point. David, you're in a little different situation because you run an agency, not so much freelance. So how has social media and putting out free content online actually helped your agency?
Yeah, so I guess we've been on a bit of a journey with our content over the last pretty much decade, since we've been running, and I guess in the last 2 or 3 years we've shifted about letting people have a real insight as to what it is to work here. So whether that's going out to travel at different conferences, speaking at events in the States this last 3 or 4 years, we've put a lot of time and energy into giving that level of content. Um, and seeing the response to that's been really interesting. So we've had a lot of people get in touch and say, you know what, guys, you've really inspired us to go on this journey of becoming a creative. From other people who've seen what we're doing, got to know who we are, and actually joined our team because of the content we put out.
So it
So
provides a bit of trust and validation in your team and what you guys are actually doing.
totally, yeah. So just kind of leveling up in terms of let's show people who we are, the people behind the brand.
For sure, that's awesome. Now, you guys, leading into the second question, both of you have a primarily focus on branding and logos. So, what's your full branding process? So, for Ian, it's a more of a freelance branding process, and David, you're a little bit different, which I really like because it's an agency. So, again, Ian, we'll start with you. Just run us through briefly what your branding process looks like.
Yeah, sure. So if we was to focus primarily on logo design, which is what I tend to work on a daily basis, I run through a number of steps. So I work with what I describe as a goal-based design process. So at the beginning of the project, I work with my clients to create a tick list of goals, so criteria that um, we need to fulfill within that logo. I compile that to get together by asking questions. So I do have a questionnaire, but also it's through conversations on the phone. I know there's lots of debates about questionnaires speaking to people, but I find that the most practical method for me. Once I gathered together all that information, I then put that tick list together. That gets signed off by the client, and that is critical. That's a critical part of the process because you want to make sure that everybody throughout the entire process is all working towards the same end goal. And getting it signed off as well. If you did have an extra person come in at a later date and they have different ideas, you can justify charging more, or you can, obviously go back to the goals that was agreed. So it keeps you on track. And then after then, what I do is I brainstorm lots and lots of different ideas based on those goals. Sometimes I work on potentially hundreds of sketches, but what I'm aiming to do is find the most effective solution for my clients. So I tend to pick out a handful of the best options, and then what I do is I further work on the few that I feel would be most appropriate. I tend to work on them so they look almost complete. So tend to get to that 95% point. And once I've got a handful of really good options, what I'll then do is I'll mock these up in use. So I try to make it relevant to my clients. So I use a plugin for Adobe Illustrator called Live Surface, which just makes it so much quicker and easier to test the logos myself just to make sure they are working in use. But also it's really quick to just generate those images and then put a presentation together. And it's important to know I'm not just showing 3 logos or 4 logos or whatever.
Sure.
I show each option individually. Um, so first of all, the logo on its own, and then a number of slides following on from that with the image in use. And then what I do is it's something that I've started doing for the past like 3 months. I'll record a video on Loom.
Yeah.
So I can talk through my work, send it over, and every single time I sent that, it's gone down really well with the client. And the benefit of videoing it, they can share it to other people, and rather than them receiving like a document, like a PDF or whatever, because it's a video, they understand all the meaning and everything behind it, and it's great if they pass it on to someone that could be a potential client as well. And then yeah, it's the client either picks an option, or for whatever reason we might work on changes. And then for the logo design side of things, that's pretty much it really. You then create a package of logos.
Yeah, that's really cool. And so, David, with your obviously experience running an agency, what's the process look like there for branding?
Yeah, a lot of similarities to Ian. Obviously we start out with the most important, which is just sitting and talking with our client or clients, and really get an understanding of what are their hopes and ambitions. Get that real sense of where they want to go with this. a new logo identity. And I guess if we get that wrong, then from everything from there on in is going to be a challenge. But if we listen really carefully, it's going to be a really smooth process. Um, so I think over the last number of years, I've learned to become a really good listener. You know, at the start, you're kind of going in. Maybe when I started my career, I was more like, okay, I know what these guys need, and maybe not listening so much as to what they want and what they need, and their market. So I think that's a very, very important part of the process. Um, we would then start to research their industry as much as we could, get a really good understanding, because we're an agency that don't work with one particular sector. We work with clients right across the world in loads of different types of sectors. So um, we make sure that we understand where they're coming from as well. And then we get into our sketching. So that sketching process, we have learned as well. It used to be we would provide, I know about you, Ian, but whenever we started out, we would have used to provide a lot of versions and concepts. So we would get them all out there and say, look, here's all the work we've done. We're so proud of how much we've done, versus over time going, actually, guys, let's really think about what concepts we're going to showcase to the client. And are some of these concepts actually not hitting the mark, and being really selective about that. So our process has developed and evolved over the years. Another huge part of that evolution has been how we present. So I love what you said there, Ian, about recording your screen. I think that's really fantastic. You know, it gives your personality as well. So it's maybe something I might note down. But whenever we have delivered that presentation, part of that process would also be to showcase what the brand looks like in mock-ups, and I think clients have found that really useful. And not just any old mock-ups, you know, just do your business cards or whatever, the kind of generic ones. It's more specific to their usage, their future usage, so that they can get a real visual sense of what that rollout of that brand is going to look like. Yeah, and then from there, it's about tweaking, crafting, and sometimes that's as long as the rest of the process to get that right. You know, those small, tiny tweaks and attention to detail before we get out all the assets.
That's awesome. All right, so I have one more question before we jump into questions from the audience. Just a quick reminder to everyone watching at home, if you want to ask these two a question, it's !Q and then followed by your question, and it will appear on my iPad over here so I can ask these two guys. All right, so one more question I want to ask you guys is, what's your favorite rebrand of 2020 so far? We'll start with Ian.
Okay, it's a really hard thing to pick one, but one that I have been really impressed by, and I'm not a big football fan, but the Icelandic football club, that rebrand is incredible. And it kind of taught me a lot, really, because typically if I was going to redesign a football club logo, I would be very nervous about completely reinventing it. I would personally go back to their roots and create an evolution of what they already have, but they completely reinvented it, and it's gone down really well with everyone as far as I'm aware. It's just such a cool design and strategy and everything, very different to anything that's out there. So if you haven't seen it already, do go and check it out. It's really good. Really good.
That's awesome. And David?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to be biased and mention that we rebranded in 2020 in January to DHD, but yeah, you kind of caught me off guard with this one, because I haven't noticed a lot of what's been going on in terms of rebranding this year so far, and maybe that's partly because we've just been so with everyone else that's going on with where we're at. But last year for me, it was one of the big ones was Mastercard, and just the fact that they could have the confidence to take away the word Mastercard and just have the two circles. Was like, I think, a huge gamble, but a really kind of one that's going to do really well for them, because to have a brand that's just two circles together and that's your mark, amazing.
Exactly, especially yeah, without the mark, if you can have these, yeah, two circles that are super recognizable. Without that word mark, it's yeah, super powerful branding. All right, so I have a flood of questions coming in. The first one's actually dedicated to David, and someone asked, "What was the reason for your rebrand, and how are you measuring the effectiveness of the rebrand?"
Fantastic question. So believe it or not, this is 2 years in the making.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and because I don't know about you guys, but whenever we get the client work in, that has to take priority, and then our stuff gets pushed back. And so we had hoped to do this on our 10th birthday or anniversary of opening up, which would have been 2018. Um, but it got delayed, and as I mentioned, only got going in January this year. So a big part of it was that when I started out as a freelancer, it was David Henderson Design, and then as I started to grow a team, um, around 7 years ago, I started to employ my first staff. And I remember like a lot of the culture around here was like, David, this we've just done this for you, or this person just rang for you, and I felt that it was too much about me as an individual and not about a collective anymore of 6 designers and developers and creatives. So we started using this hashtag We Are DHD, and that became really popular, and people began to recognize it, not just clients but a community of followers on social. So we made the decision, look, we need just to move to DHD and drop the David Henderson Design. First of all, it's too long to say. It had become dated. So that was a big part of thinking. And then to come up with this really kind of tight mark was important for us to do that. So yeah, it's been a good move, and it kind of has given us internally a huge lift. I think the whole agency has really developed in the last kind of 12 months because of that. Number of reasons. We've got a new team. We're moving out all over the place. I can see my timer's on. It's going to die in 30 seconds. So I'll switch that over in a minute. And
Got 20 seconds left to answer the question.
yeah, so basically, how we measure the effectiveness of that, I guess the feedback we've had is phenomenal, not just from clients, but our community. And that's been really, really positive. So it's been more in terms of qualitative research than quantitative. But yeah, I'm going to switch my camera back on
That's
now.
awesome. That's right. We'll jump to a question for Ian now because someone asked, or where to go, what's the best book you can give us to read from that library behind you?
Best book. Is there any particular topic
One of the books
from that
behind you.
person?
That's what they're asking.
The best one. Okay, so if it was on branding, I would say, and it's technically 3 books, but Marty Neumeier's books, I think they've already been mentioned, but the Brand Gap, Zag, and Brand Flip. He also has Scramble. So if you're interested in strategy, definitely that. For logo design, there's no one book to rule them all. There's no perfect book. You can read lots and lots of different books on logo design, and you can learn something new from each one. But I particularly liked what Bill Gardner put together, Logo Creed. Bill Gardner runs something called Logo Lounge, which is like this database online, and he put a book together. And I think as a kind of practical guide, it's really good. Gallery books, Logo Modernism, that's a huge book. I mean, you can see it just there. It's really big, really thick. So as like an inspiration book, that one is just if you're into logo design, I think it's a must-have. So that's a few.
That's awesome.
It's hard to pick one.
Well, how many books do you think you've got behind you there? There's a fair few.
I actually don't have space for them because that side of the shelf is my partner's. So I've got books all over the place. I've got books downstairs as well.
That's
I don't
lovely.
know. I've never counted them. It must be at least 100.
Well, there's something to do on a Sunday afternoon. All right, next question coming in. Again, there's heaps, so I'm just trying to find which ones are the best ones to answer. All right. I think this one's going to be a little bit more directed at David. But how did you go about picking the right members for your team, and when did you feel it was the right time to expand? So I'm not sure if we got
Fantastic.
David
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. Am I here? I can see you guys.
Mhm.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear. Yeah, you're back. Yep.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I guess in terms of picking the right team, it's been a mixture of people coming knocking on our door, which is fantastic, but also then obviously advertising that we're hiring. So for me as an employer, it's always about attitude first and foremost. And people think, well, that's shocking because surely it has to do with the skill level and how good you are as a creative or developer. But I believe if you've got the right attitude and personality, then we want to work with you because you'll develop, you'll learn, and we can help you on that journey of how what we've learned over the last 10 years in design and running this agency.
That's
So
awesome.
that's a big part of how we hire at DHD. Um, and then what was the second part of that
And then,
question?
yeah, so
When
the
did I
follow-up question to that was, and when did you feel was the right time to expand?
Yeah, so if we go back to 2012, 2013, I was about 3, 4 years into being a freelancer at that stage. There was so much work coming through. And to give you an idea, we had got approached by a PR agency in Boston.
Hmm.
I keep saying we, but it was just myself at the time. Um, I'd gotten approached by the guys in Boston and said, look, we want you to do one explainer animation every 2 weeks. So I took that on. I loved it, and I really learned a lot about that process and doing more animation. But all the web stuff, all the branding, all the graphic design, there was just so much passing me by, and I got busier and busier. So I just decided to take one guy on called Adam. He was my first employee, and he was a developer, web developer, and it was great because that's the last time I coded. I haven't
Oh
touched
wow.
web development since then. Um, so we're constantly evolving, constantly growing, and that was 7 years ago. We now have a team of 6, and we're looking to hopefully hire very shortly as well.
That's awesome. A few more questions coming in here. We've got some very general questions here, but they're good ones to answer. What software do you use to make logos and design a brand?
I can answer that one.
Sure.
So I use the Adobe suite, the Creative Cloud. And for logo design, you want to use a vector-based software. So there are other options out there, but I personally use Adobe Illustrator. But if you Google vector editor softwares, there are free options out there, that there's cheaper options out there. But I think the most important thing is that it does have the ability to save out certain file types. So for logo design, you want to be able to provide the vector files, so things like EPS file, AI file, a PDF as a vector, and also the bitmap files, so JPEGs, PNGs, and so on. As long as it has that capability and you can do what you want within that software, it's up to you. But personally, I would recommend Adobe Illustrator.
Yeah, I think you've covered it fairly well there in all the bases. All right, next question is, has the pandemic affected your business? So has it been a pro? Has it been a con? Let's start with you, David. How has this recent pandemic affected you?
Do you know what, guys? I was really concerned at the start of this. I didn't know what was going to happen, like many of us, I think. And I thought, to be honest, I was more worried about our clients and how those guys were going to be affected because we have a lot of clients in hospitality and events. Straight away, one of the first things that was affected was our travel plans. So, me and Matthew, our filmmaker, were meant to be traveling to a conference called Hashtag in Charlotte and filming that and doing all the social in May, and then in April as well, we're meant to be in Tel Aviv. And yeah, it's obviously those just got postponed to 2021. But so that was the first thing. Um, but very, very quickly, what I realized, and it's so encouraging, is that a lot of our clients and a lot of the new inquiries that started to come through was the attitude of people. People were so positive that I was speaking to. They were kind of real to the situation. They realized how serious it was, but were ready to put up a fight and ready to go hard at their marketing, go double down on their brand strategy, and they wanted to talk to us. So we were delighted with that. And do you know what? We've probably had one of the busiest quarters we've had in probably 3 or 4 years. So whilst it's been challenging working from home, I really miss seeing the guys in person, giving them a hug and all that kind of stuff, and having coffee with people face to face has been a big challenge for me personally. But work wise, we have been really efficient from home. I'm back in the studio just last week on my own. Um, but yeah, it's interesting times.
That's interesting. Just a follow-up question with that one, David, is like what systems and strategies have you guys put in place at DHT to actually affiliate and officiate this, work from home environment? What processes have you guys put in place so that remote type of working can continue?
Yeah, one of the first things we did was, well, we were obviously heavily using Slack and those types of
Mm.
communication channels. We've never used Zoom internally. We've never used the conference calls internally, but we started doing that daily, every morning, catching up, seeing how people are doing. Because we were, as a team, we're used to doing that in person once a week, maybe for an hour or two every Monday morning. So to do that for like 10 minutes to half an hour every day, was really important just to kind of ensure people were feeling good, or happy with what they're planning to do and all that good stuff. Um, those were the kind of first things we put in line. But again, what I was saying about the clients, people are so good at responding to things and adapting and learning. I found that with my guys in my team as well. People really stepped up to support each other, help each other, just really encourage each other and make sure the morale stays up as well, which is really important.
That's awesome. All right, let's jump back to EM, talking about the pandemic and how it's affected your business for the good or the bad.
Sure. Well, my situation was probably quite unique because for the last 3 years or so, I've been working part time for an agency. I was originally full time in that role, and my business, so Logo Geek, was just a part time thing. But in January this year, I decided, okay, I'm gonna go out on my own, do this full time. So I handed in my notice in January, and I needed to give 2 months' notice. So I went full time, and then it went into lockdown within like a week or two. So I pretty much started full time during a pandemic. But what I did prior to going full time is because I was nervous about not making enough money. Like, I've got mortgage to pay. I've got a little one. My partner, she's a stay-at-home mum now. So everything is on me to make an income. So prior to going full time slash pandemic, I worked every hour I could and booked in as much work as possible. So I had about 2 months worth of work already booked in. Um, so when I did go full time, which was a week or two before it went into lockdown in the UK, um, I obviously had work on already, things to do. But I've been in a really good place where I've been getting lots of inquiries coming in. I'm having lots of conversations, and the I was going from maybe like 2 to 3 good calls a day, and then lockdown happened in the UK, and nothing nothing for like a week or two. Um, Maybe one or two little bits here and there, but in general, it was concerning because I was thinking hopefully it's going to start picking back up. But I carried on, and like I said, I had plenty of work already booked in, and I'm so glad I did that. And whenever I did have a call, thankfully there were very good calls, and they still went ahead. So I've kind of just glided through it, and personally I've made more income since being full time, uh, even though we've had this situation. So thankfully, and touch wood, it stays this way. I've been doing okay for myself, and uh,
That's
I
awesome.
I prepared to be working from home, and yeah, it's been fine.
That's awesome. All right, let's jump back onto the conversation of social media now. So I want to ask you guys if you guys had to start from scratch today, So obviously, Ian, you being a say full-time freelancer, and David, you running a 6-person agency. If you had to start your marketing campaign on social media again, what's the one platform you'd choose, and like what would you do differently if there is something you do differently at all? So we'll start with David.
Okay, yeah. So I guess, as I mentioned, our social has been on a bit of a journey. So if I look back to what we did when we first started, let's take the example of Instagram. I think it's most relevant to us as creatives in terms of visual. Um, and I look back at our stream, and it's just project, 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 project. Um, and that's great in some ways, but for a lot of people, obviously, they've probably not much interest in the fact that we've just done yet another website. So we then started to look at this. One of the ways we kind of grew, particularly on Instagram, was by actually using the live feature. And I remember doing one of the first live streams, and this was before you could actually invite someone onto the platform. So what I did was, I think it was a Connor Fowler.
Mm.
We set up a Skype call. We did a dual Skype screen, and then I recorded my iMac screen on, to the live Instagram live. It was just crazy. And I think we did like 3 or 4 of those before we then, whenever they released the feature that you can invite people onto to live stream, we were all over it.
That's awesome.
So I think, you kind of move with the features, don't you? It's kind of like one of those things you evolve with these new features. Then carousels came in and changed everything in terms of the value proposition,
For sure.
which we all know, we love and know. So yeah, I think I would start adding value from the get-go, rather than look at us, look at us, look at us 24/7.
And you often see that with agencies and freelancers and just people in general on social media. It's like, hey, look at this. Look at my portfolio. Here's my work. This is what I can do. Rah rah rah. When what really should be happening is the conversation should be focusing on actually creating value and going, hey, here's how I can be a hand to you. Not, hey, hire me because I'm good at this. It's more so, hey, I want to actually help you and assist you to actually solve your business problems. All right, so we have only a few more minutes left. So I guess we'll do one more question and then we'll finish up. All right, there's still a bunch to choose from. Oh, okay. Awesome. Let's go with this one. So, actually, let's change it. There's so many questions. All right, what's one piece of advice you'd give? One piece of business advice.
I'll answer that. So one thing I would say is you need to have a clear destination of exactly where you'd like to go. So there's a book called The One Thing, which is another book I would highly recommend, where have this somewhere out there goal, and then every day make small steps towards that. Everyone says that they don't have time, but if you had 15 minutes a day, but kept using that 15 minutes a day to walk towards one end goal, by the end of a week, you would have done, what is it, like an hour and 45 minutes worth of work on your business, even, just 15 minutes. So small incremental steps towards one clear end goal will always get you to where you want to go.
That's it. And David?
Yeah, for me, I guess I would focus on the fact that one of the reasons I'm in business is about people. It's about serving and helping people, and never to forget that. No matter if you are in we're always in service industry, but if you're, even producing, designing amazing products, whatever you're doing, we're serving and helping people, and that's what it's all about.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, we are out of time, so we're going to finish up here. What I want you guys to do is just to give yourself a selfish plug now and just tell people where they can find you. So, Ian, we'll start with you. Where can people connect with you?
Probably the best place to start is Logo Geek. I pretty much own all of the URLs and domains, so do a Google search for Logo Geek. But as a plug for something, I have a box set of 6 ebooks called boxset.logogeek.uk, and that's probably the best way to keep up to date with everything that I'm doing.
That's awesome. And David, where can people find you?
Yeah, likewise. So across all social, we're big, mostly on Instagram. So search hashtag WeAreDHD. That's the same name as our account. And then more than happy for people to search David Henderson or DHD on Instagram. On LinkedIn, and connect with me personally on there as well.
That's awesome. All right, so we're going to finish up there. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Everyone who's watching, stay tuned. Do not go anywhere, because up next we have the final Q&A session, Q&A panel, I should say, with Dot Lung and David Talas. And that conversation is going to be steered heavily around creating content on Instagram and Instagram growth as a creative. So you definitely do not want to miss this one, because I'm positive that these two are going to supply some golden nuggets. So get your notepad ready. We'll be back very soon with both Dot Lung and David Talas.
Done? Cool. Yeah, thanks, Brian.
Like a lot of design teams out there, we've been working from home recently. So yeah, we decided to switch to Adobe XD, where we could continue to design and collaborate efficiently, away from the office. XD's co-editing feature allows us to cross-collaborate on the same document together in real time. Can you make that logo a little bit bigger? It's great. XD is great for speeding things up. Our team uses components to reuse design elements throughout one or multiple documents. Prototyping our designs is easy with XD too. Interactions, triggers, and auto-animate, you name it. We can then easily send our designs to the client for a review via a shareable link. We also have the ability to send our developers a link to the design specs. They really love it. It's true. XD also allows us to connect our favourite apps to accelerate and automate our workflow. Things like Slack, Jira, Airtable, Trello, Google Sheets and Overflow.
Would you recommend XD?
Well, if someone's looking for an easy to use, feature-rich collaboration design tool, then yeah, why not give it a shot? Download Adobe XD today. Thanks for jumping on.
Awesome. Well, it looks really, really nice.
Alright, I'll mute myself here, just give us a couple minutes.
And how is like my sound quality? Is it everything?
I think it's pretty good. Do you have headphones in right now?
Yeah. No, I don't.
That's probably a recommendation.
You have like an echo because I think you have two things on. Yeah, now.
Just take 30 seconds to let you know about our VIP pass for Frontrow 2020. If you want unlimited access to Frontrow, you need to check it out and you need to get it. You get access to mentoring sessions. If you want people like Dave Taras to mentor you, you need the VIP pass. If you want exclusive access to our expo and exclusive goodies there, like for example, we're giving away an Adobe Creative Cloud subscription, you need the VIP pass. If you want to re-watch sessions, so after the live stream ends, or if you can't make a session because of time zones and whatnot, you need the VIP pass. So if you guys are serious about leveling up as a designer, check the links in the description or in the live chat to upgrade to a VIP pass for Frontrow 2020 today.
I won't make it easy for you now. You got 2 minutes of my time, and I don't really break too easily, but I'm worth it, 'cause I'll slip into your dreams tonight. Oh, so give me your all. I'll take it to Mars. Oh, I'll stick like glue inside your mind. Oh, so give me your all. I'll take it to Mars. Oh, I'll stick like glue.
Thanks. Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome back. Just thought I'd chill with you guys for a couple of minutes while we wait for a couple of our speakers. Who likes my drink bottle? I'll see a couple of questions. If you guys want to ask me some questions, let's go. You've got a couple of minutes to do so. Just chuck them in chat, I can read them here. Is Webflow good for a photography website? Honestly, it depends on how much effort you want to go into building your website. Webflow is really good for designers. If you're just looking for a general portfolio, just use Squarespace or some tool like that. I'm sure any of those would work pretty well. Other updates, remember guys, you can check out basically everything you need in the description below. If you haven't joined our Slack community, I highly recommend doing that. I think we've got close to 700 of you guys in that, which is super cool. You can network in there and meet other event attendees. People have been posting book recommendations and different notes from each session, so that's really cool to see too. And yeah, like that ad that just played before, if you guys want your VIP tickets, you can rewatch sessions, access our mentoring sessions, and there's a few coming up next few hours. Make sure you get your VIP tickets for Frontrow 2020. A couple more questions coming in. Why did you start Frontrow? So Frontrow initially started as just like an idea, and I was actually on I think it was an Instagram live about basically bang on 12 months ago with Berson Varghese, who was the speaker in the first session, and we were chatting, and I think we were doing a thing for his podcast or something, and then we were basically chatting about just like social media in general. I'm like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we did a bunch of live streams back to back with, or like, you know, a bunch of Instagram back to back with all these different creators and influencers on the Instagram design community, and that kind of started the whole Frontrow concepts, and that kind of pivoted into an actual virtual conference, which we held a 4.5-hour broadcast on YouTube last year on October 4th, and now we're doing a 3-day conference. It's a huge like live event. So that's kind of how Frontrow started. Figma or XD? XD. I'm going to say I have been using Figma a fair bit, but recently, obviously, Adobe XD is sponsoring the conference, so I've been able to use that a fair bit, and actually XD have some really cool features, so I highly recommend you check out XD using the links in the description. Question. Will you sell Frontrow t-shirts? Unfortunately not. We were going to do selling of like merch and stickers and whatnot this year, but obviously with everything going on with COVID and the pandemic, we decided not to make that and just do some virtual giveaways and things of that nature, which we have a couple of things coming up tomorrow in the closing keynote. People are at Slack is cool, use it for the first time, that's awesome. Share us your journey for starting Pitchreef. Alright, I'll give you a very quick explanation on how Pitchreef started and how we pivoted. So a couple of years ago, basically on the dot, a couple of years ago, we started Pitchproof as a SaaS product, so a tool for logo designers in particular to actually present their works to clients. We went through that whole process of building a minimal viable product, or an MVP in business terms. We launched in November, gained some really good feedback, and through that process we actually started to create a community online. So we were posting like logo inspirations like every single day, just getting feedback from our audience, and then we were just creating content. And then last year from about March, we switched up our content and started posting carousels like every single day for like 6 months. We grew rapidly, and our entire team just fell in love with this whole process of actually creating content and actually building community. And then we obviously led into Frontrow, which was our first virtual event. And then early this year, we decided to make that proper pivot into actually making Pitchproof a business where we solely focus on virtual events. So that's that. What else have we got here? Thanks, I'm currently using Wix. Yeah, Wix is cool too. I've just started using Adobe XD as well. Awesome. All right. All right, sweet. We're gonna roll back to the starting soon screen. We should be back in about 5 minutes time, or not even that, and we'll get back on with Dot Lung and Dave Tellas. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back any second.
This is perfect. This was more convenient for me because I just have to click a link. Please, these first few questions. I'm a visual type of guy, so I really don't remember anything you just said.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Front Row 2020. All right, for this next session, we're going to basically jump straight into it with some live Q&A with two special guests. We've got Dot Lung and David Talas. So let's get them on stream. Let's first off introduce Dot Lung. Dot, are you there? I think they can. And then second, we have Dave Talas. Dave, how are you going, man? I'm doing fantastic. I'm super excited to have both of you on because you both are experts on Instagram. Oh, sorry, we just got some technical difficulties real quick. So apparently we can't hear the speakers, so we might just switch back to me real quick while we figure out those quick technical difficulties. But everybody who's watching, just use !Q in chat, and then with your question for both Dave and Dot, and then we'll get to those very shortly after a few predetermined questions. Sorry. Dave, can you just give me a quick hello there, just so we can test the technical on our
Hello,
end?
everybody. Testing the microphone. 1, 2, 3.
I believe everybody can hear you now. So let's run through those introductions again. Dot, give everyone at home a quick 30-second introduction about yourself.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Pitch Proof. Hello, Front Row viewers. My name is Dot Lung. Dot is short for Dorothy, and Long means dragon in Mandarin. And I teach you the Dragon's formula so you can create a social media presence that you love. I'm here today with Dave Talas. Want to introduce yourself?
Well, thank you so much. I don't know if I can live up to such an introduction. You crushed it. My name is David. I'm from Hungary, and I run an online education platform where I teach people how to create better content, how to grow their audience, and how to turn their followers into customers. So I started this business next to medical school, but then this side hustle quickly became a full-time thing. So I dropped out of that university, and now I'm here teaching people like you.
That's awesome. All right, so I've got a couple of predetermined questions here that we'll start off our conversation with. But just like I mentioned before, you guys, if you guys want to ask these two some questions, !Q in the chat followed by your question, and it'll come up on my iPad here so I can ask these two beautiful questions. All right, so question number 1 is, why should you niche on social media? And how should you know which niche to choose? I reckon, David, we might start with you on this one. What are your thoughts on niching? Because I know you
I
talk
think
a fair bit
niching
about it.
niching is absolutely necessary, because if you don't niche down, then people are not going to be able to remember you. We have this tendency of just trying to remember as little things as possible we can from other people. Our brain filters out all kinds of information. So if it is not super clear what you do and people cannot remember you for one simple thing, they will not remember you at all. So I think that is why picking your niche is very important. And the second part is, how should you choose your niche? I think what you need to do is first figure out what you're passionate about. And then if there is any need from a market who can pay you, then that is something that you should at least first try to get better at. And once you have all those three, then you are going to be able to do something good.
That's awesome. And Dot?
Well, I absolutely love this question because the N in dragon actually represents the niche. So, one of the most important elements to utilize in the dragon's formula to get more social media growth and presence right in front of your target customers is knowing exactly who your customer is. So if you don't know who your niche is, or you don't know what your niche is, it's going to be really hard to create content for them. So in order to really niche down, I always recommend thinking about what is something that you could die doing like for the rest of your life. Like, what is something that you really, really absolutely love and you'll like never get sick of doing? This way you can become an expert way easier, and there's less competition in your field. Because one of the main important things is to really be able to solve a specific problem for a specific person. And the more specific you can get, the better your results will be.
That's awesome. And a bit of follow-up question for both of you guys is it all right, in your opinion, to actually change your niche? So you might be doing content for 6 months and you go, actually, you know what, this is in my mojo. I want to transition my content to a completely different niche. Is that something you guys recommend doing? Or is that something you're just like, no, you got to stick to it no matter what? Dave, we can start with you.
Oh, I thought it was ladies first.
All right, Dot, you're up.
Okay, I'm going to start. Okay, Dot, let's go. Ladies first. No, ladies first.
So I absolutely think that if your, hashtags aren't working, if your Instagram account, you're not experiencing growth, you can absolutely change it. I mean, this is the beauty of being able to open like a new Instagram account or starting over from scratch. That's, the whole fun of, starting new different Instagram accounts and different niches and seeing which one actually catches on. How should you choose the hashtags you're going to include in your captions? Was that the question that you're asking?
So we're talking about actually changing a niche. So if you're starting with one niche, how can you adapt to another niche if you realize that, you know what, I'm not super happy with this niche?
It depends how much you've actually grown. But if you're willing to start from zero, I would just start from scratch, from a blank canvas, and change the content completely and reaching a new audience with a different niche and seeing if that works. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, I completely agree. If you are small and you kind of haven't figured out your passion yet, and your business is not like on super solid grounds, and maybe you're just starting out and you feel like that something that you started doing, you don't find much fulfillment in it. Yes, you can definitely change your niche, but I would think about how to go about it on Instagram, because once you have an audience who is interested in a certain topic, if you switch that topic too fast, then they are going to be a little bit disinterested. They are not going to know, like, oh my God, what am I seeing here? This is not what I subscribed for. And the problem is they're not going to unfollow you. They are just going to tune out. So your engagement is slowly going to drop, where you get to the point where you are not going to be able to grow organically, because the engagement on your post is going to be so low that you're not going to show up on the hashtags or the explore feed. If that is the case, then what I recommend is to start a brand new account and then start transferring people there from your old account. So you can put up a story like, hey guys, from now on, I'm transitioning into being, I don't know, like a sales funnel builder. And if you want to learn more about sales funnels, check out my second page. And that's where I'm going to be sharing tips. You can also share that new page on your Facebook, LinkedIn, your emails, so that you can get a really warm audience in the beginning. And I think that is key.
Now, you guys are both known as like the Instagram growth experts, and I'm sure you guys get a lot of questions about hashtags in particular. Leaning into my second question here is that how should you go about actually choosing hashtags to actually include in your captions? Let's switch it around this time. Dave, you want to start?
Yeah, okay, thank you. This is a really good question, and I believe it's really important, because if your hashtags are not right, you're not going to get the amount of exposure you can from your post. You already made a beautiful post, so hashtags are really important to nail down to make sure that there's good enough distribution. So what I recommend is to, especially if you're starting out, pick really small hashtags, like hashtags under 1 million or 2 million posts, because the way that ranking works on hashtags is you have to be able to compete on the amount of engagement you get on your posts. So if you use a huge hashtag like hashtag marketing, which has like 60 million posts, you're not going to be able to rank there, because the top posts have thousands of likes. But as you start picking smaller hashtags like under 2 million, you're going to have a better chance of ranking on them. And you're also going to pick more niche hashtags. And the second part is, as you start picking those smaller hashtags, only use the hashtags on your post that are relevant to that actual post. A good way to kind of like to test whether your hashtags are good is, if you were to look up that hashtag, would you actually click on the post that you published? If you wouldn't click on that, then it means it's not relevant to the topic that you're actually posting in. So I would drop that hashtag. It's really important to stay relevant. Those are my two tips or two pieces of guidance I can give. But what about you, Don?
Awesome. Dot, you're up. Do you have any extra golden nuggets you can add to that?
I always recommend, if you are in, a point of growth, if you want to grow your channel and if you want to get more exposure on a post, like you can max out the number of hashtags, which is, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, 30 hashtags per post. So if you have 30 hashtags that you can use per post, use them all. Probably, like what Dave said, is do 10 super niche hashtags, which are, small, maybe even your personalized branded hashtags, 10 medium-sized hashtags, and then 10 super broad ones, so that you kind of, hit all of these possibilities in your hashtags. So in terms of like how you should choose them, I really think using broad hashtags are completely useless if you're just starting out, because unless you're Kim Kardashian, there's no point in hashtagging summer or hashtagging love. Or if she was in marketing, like hashtag marketing, like if you're starting out, as it's going to be hard to rank in those broader hashtags. So really go for the medium to small size hashtags when you're starting out, and definitely use all 30.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, so I guess we can jump into some live Q&A questions. So if you guys do want to ask a question, just do !Q followed by your question, and I will be picking them out in chat. The first one that's coming up a couple of times is that I see that Instagram's like released a new feature called Reels. I'm not sure if you guys have seen that or on top of it. It's kind of like Instagram's take on TikTok. What are your thoughts on that new feature and how that might adapt the Instagram framework and potentially be a major competitor to TikTok?
Who's first?
I actually haven't seen the Reels, but I did hear about them trying to compete with TikTok. And the beauty of why TikTok works so well and why it's receiving exponential growth is because of pure entertainment value. And these people that are in performing arts, comedy, musicians, artists, it's a wonderful place for these people to actually be creating content, because there are so many people viewing TikTok videos that it's definitely a great place to be. So that being said, because Instagram is opening their own channel for that, definitely get in there. As soon as the Instagram opens any type of new feature, any type of new, app inside the app, like go and try it out and see how creative you can be on it.
That's awesome. Dave?
100%. I think that Instagram might be a little bit late on that feature. TikTok is already huge. So, and for me, Reels is not available as well. And I think that Instagram might have a shot with these Reels, as TikTok has been banned in India, I believe. And there have been some rumors that maybe it's going to be banned in the US as well. So so getting maybe your TikTok videos just posted on the Reels is something that might be helpful, or just creating new Reels. Instagram did this with the stories. I think there was a time, but I'm not sure, where you couldn't even direct message people and like no group messages. So Instagram is just constantly getting all of these super addictive features. What I want to share with people who are watching and they're pissed that they don't have these new features rolling out, what you can do is to get a VPN subscription somewhere. I use ExpressVPN, and it's completely legal, so you don't have to worry about any of these stuff. But what you can do is once you know that Reel is launched, I believe in Brazil and in Germany, I'm not sure, you can start using a German VPN. And if you are lucky and it's location based, not account based, then you are going to be able to test these new features out. Maybe you have to log out of the app and then log in, or maybe even delete the app and then install it again. But this way you might be able to access some new features that are not yet available to your account. This is just a small life hack I wanted to give to the audience.
I just got like a big thumbs up from my head broadcast. He's like, hey, I use a VPN, and that's the greater solution. All right, so I've got a ton more questions coming in. Another one that seems to be asked a couple of times is about talking about actually about buying Instagram ads and buying Instagram promotions to actually promote your own posts. Is that something you guys do? Have you experimented with it, or is it all just been that organic growth?
I've definitely experimented with paid ads. In fact, right at the start of the quarantine, before, like the day before we all had to go in quarantine in Israel, I launched my first course. And this course was launched completely only based on a paid media advertising campaign. And I gained 30,000 fans in 2 months.
Oh, wow.
Not sure exactly what the budget was, right? But it extremely does help you. If you need a shortcut, you still must have your organic strategy completely working in place, so that when you put, the super boost on with paid media, it can really drive a lot more traffic and get your posts a lot more exposure. Basically fast tracking your organic strategy. But your organic strategy must work. So do not go into ads if your organic is not working on its own.
For sure. Dave, anything you want to add to that?
Yes, I've tried with organic or like boosting posts, but unfortunately, Facebook doesn't really like me. One of the reasons could be that I use a lot of text on my posts. These carousels, they are really text heavy, so it didn't bypass the 20% text filter. So that was one that I was like, okay, all of the posts are like, no, we don't allow this to run. And another thing is, I also tried running ads for my Instagram course, but sometimes we used words of like growing your Instagram followers, and those immediately flag the Instagram or the Facebook ad policies. And then my Facebook account has been banned like multiple times and disabled. We had to make a new account. So if I probably wasted like, I don't know, like $4,000 to $5,000 on getting ad agencies. I've been burned like 2 times. Now I'm negotiating with the third agency, and it's not really going well. So it's definitely good if you just give it a try for yourself, but don't expect it to just be something that fixes everything. Because once you get deep into like how the things actually work and how the ad review process goes, you're going to see that this is a different skill and a different craft that people learn for a long time.
For sure. Someone asked, how do you identify what hashtags your potential clients will search for? So I'm going to presume, since our audience is mostly designers and people in that digital creative industry, so they're trying to create content that doesn't just reach other designers or other creators. They're trying to create content that actually reaches potential clients. So what type of hashtags or any strategies on actually figuring out what hashtags are going to be best for identifying how to reach those clients? Dot, you're up.
Sure. So the question is, how do we reach clients that are outside the design community using hashtags?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, well, first of all, tell me who your dream client is, and I can tell you what hashtags to use. Basically, what you need to really understand is who you're trying to target and know exactly what their wet dreams and night sweats are. So this means you know exactly what brands they like, what music they're listening to, what shoes they wear, what perfume they have on. So you're literally just able to stalk them and know which Instagram accounts and where they're hanging out online. Knowing your customer is super important, and you will eventually figure out what hashtags your dream customer is following. So do more research, even do a focus group, ask your clients, so what are you following on Instagram? And they're going to tell you, and it's that easy.
That's awesome. Dave, do you have anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'd like to challenge the whole assumption that it is possible to target clients using your hashtags or content, because this question has a built-in assumption that it is actually possible to target your clients, and you can get clients only and nobody else. And if you attract designers, then you will get no clients. And I think that is completely false. If you just imagine let's say, I don't know if you guys know this, there are these distribution curves. There's like it has a similar shape like this, and for example, if you put on people with like based on like IQ, you're going to see that the 100 IQ in the middle, that is the average, and then there are people in the front and there are people in the back. Now, if you think about the y-axis to be how much knowledge people have on the topic that you're posting, what you will see is that your clients are probably going to be all over the place. So with your content, you cannot target people. You can only attract a certain psychology, a certain interest. And if that interest is something that your clients are also interested in, then you are going to attract a few clients. And this is why everything that Dot said is super good, because you absolutely have to know who your clients are and where they hang out, what kind of posts they follow, and like, it's the easiest way to get big fish is to fish in a pond that has big fish. So you kind of have to, you really have to understand them. But if you start teaching not just your clients, but your designers, maybe you'll be able to create a digital product from whatever you are selling. So now you suddenly don't only have one way of generating your income, which is your client services, but you also might be able to have a second income, which is an online course. You might be able to have like a mentorship group for maybe 20 other designers. And over time, those revenue streams can really add up. And if something like a coronavirus hits in, which is something that's completely unexpected, then you suddenly don't lose 60% of your income. So this is something that I would like to emphasize, to not shy away from building a community of designers. And that also gives you a lot of credibility. Like, I would prefer to hire a designer with like 20,000 followers and a bunch of educational posts than someone who has a beautiful portfolio and 500 followers on Instagram. It doesn't mean that the person with 500 is not good, but it's just social proof that you just cannot ignore.
That's a very
I know I
interesting
completely
point.
didn't
A very
answer the
strong
question. I didn't answer the question at all, but
point.
that was the whole
No, it's a very
point of
unique
this.
perspective. So honestly, people take notes. This is really awesome. I've seen a lot of questions about hashtags, but there are a couple of questions that aren't so much hashtag related. Someone asked, what are the best tools and what tools do you guys use for analyzing social media posts? And do you use any tools like schedule posts? Dot. Oh, Dot might have frozen on us.
Okay, should I go then?
Yeah, you might as well.
Okay, so what are the tools that I use for analyzing my posts and for scheduling?
Yeah.
Okay, for analytics, the only tool that I use is Flick, which is it has built-in hashtag research, hashtag organization, and full analytics. So it actually tells you which hashtags you're showing up on. I made multiple posts about how Flick works. So if somebody needs like more tutorials, then they can definitely check that out. There are probably other analytics tools that are also good. I just use the built-in analytics. That is enough for me. And what was the other part of the question? Oh, scheduling tools.
Scheduling, yeah.
I post native all the time. So I always just airdrop my posts to my phone. And the reason being is that I just like typing on my phone. So it is something that I just kind of developed a habit for. So that's where I write the copy for my posts. But if you want to use scheduling tools, I recommend using Creator Studio from Facebook, where you can just schedule all of your Facebook and Instagram posts. And for third-party tools, I recommend using Buffer. And there's also, I believe, Sprout Social. There is a more robust but more expensive tool. And basically, all of these tools do the same thing. So what's important is which one do you like more of the, I don't know, the icon, the colors, the user interface, like what is something that you like. And if you find a tool that you like, they do the same thing, which is schedule the post for you. So then after that, you just go with it and just save some time.
Exactly. Do you plan your posts in advance? Like, do you know what type of content you're ready to post next week? Or are you just kind of like one of those people who, will try to put something out every day and you'll probably think of it on the day?
Oh, I'm the second part, which is completely terrible, because
Yeah, I'm the same.
what usually happens is when I'm busy, I just don't have time to put together a post. Then I just don't make it. So something that I'm trying to transition more towards in the future is to have a few posts, like at least 3 to 5 posts put together ahead of. So I don't recommend people to just do it
Yeah.
like I do, but on the other hand, this is a good way to help you practice a certain skill, because when you do something every single day, you can basically kaizen it, which is the Japanese term for improvement. So if you practice something every single day, 30 or 90 days later, you're going to be much better at it. So there are two sides to every coin. This is just my take on it.
That's awesome. And welcome back, Dot. She's unfrozen.
I'm
Awesome.
back.
Awesome. So, Dot, the question was like, what are some tools you use for analyzing your social media posts and also for scheduling social media posts?
Oh no. So I use Sprout Social for all of my client work. And it basically gives me the best type of reporting. I could send it right out to my clients, and it's the industry standard. For myself, I don't use any sort of scheduler. I mean, I have access to all the tools, all the paid tools, and I don't use any of them. Mainly because right now I actually don't have enough bandwidth to create my own content. So what I'm doing now is just going live once a week. So my going live once a week is my weekly piece of content. So the live turns into an IGTV, which turns into a post. So I'm getting 3 for 1, baby.
I love it. All right, we've got time for basically one more question. So I see so many questions coming in. It's hard to choose just one. All right, we'll go with a fairly broad one here, but as just as a bit of a closing question, what's one piece of advice you'd give for growing a community online? Just like one of your like best pieces of advice. Dave, we'll start with you.
My best piece of advice is partnerships. What that means is it's really important to basically, when you partner up with somebody, you start to associate yourself to be in that circle of influence. So you can do a guest live show, you can do a guest post, you can even pay people to share a post for you. And if they have a huge audience, and then you pay them to share your post, and the only call to action you leave in the post is to check you out for more, if people are interested, that is going to help you a lot to grow. And this is something that I did on multiple accounts, and it's been working really well. So that is what I'd recommend: to find new accounts who already have the audience you're trying to get, and find a way to get in front of that audience, and make sure it's like an equal value exchange. So if you cannot give like equal amount of exposure to another creator, then you can probably pay them some money, or you can offer your services in exchange. Like, for example, I will design you a logo if you give me a shout out or something like that.
Gotcha. Awesome. And Dot?
One of the main reasons why I love social media so much is because of the human to human connections you can make. And one of the most important parts of when you're actually starting to grow a community is creating and those genuine human connections. So jump on direct message, build relationships, make new friends. This is why we're all here today and why we do what we do, so we can, build a community that we don't want to run away from. We want to just be with our friends and hang out with awesome people like everyone here at the future or the front row and proof, pitch proof. So yeah, make friends, build real genuine connections. These people that reach out to me, that we talk to every day on Instagram or on Facebook, like these are our real community. I consider them my friends. So there's nothing wrong with making lots and lots and lots of friends. So go out there, make friends, and be nice.
That's it. Be a human. That's the best thing we can do on social media, is just be a human. All right, guys. We're gonna wrap up there. I'm gonna give you guys the opportunity to give yourself a bit of a selfish plug and let everyone know who's attending and watching from home where they can follow you and catch you online. So we'll start with you, Dave. Where can people connect with you?
My Instagram handle is @DaveTalas. That's DAVETALAS. So that's where you can find me. I do all of my basically updates and promotions in my Instagram stories. So whenever there is something new that I'm doing, you can definitely find it on my stories. If you want to, you can check out the links in my bio, and then it will open up the whole tap link, and you can find whatever you are looking for. But basically, the most helpful for me it would be if you just decided to follow me, and that is something. But then you can become this one of these friends that I have on social media, as Justice Dot said. So that is something that I'd like to plug in here.
That's awesome. And Dot.
You can also find me on Instagram @Dotlung, DOTLUNG, like dragon. Send me a DM. Let me know where you guys are tuning in from, and I'd love to chat with you. So I'll see you on the gram.
Awesome. All right, fantastic. Thank you guys so much for joining. It's been an absolute blast. And thank you for everyone for joining over the past couple of hours. Oh, we're just going to try to connect my camera again. My DSLR just decided to switch off. And we're back. There we go. So yeah, thank you guys so much for joining. To all our speakers who have joined us in this live Q&A panel, and to all of you guys for sticking around. It's been around 150 people the entire time, which is super exciting. Couple of quick things before we finish up. If you guys have been taking notes or anything like that, or taking videos or pictures or screen grabs or things like that, make sure you share it on social media. Use the hashtag Frontrow2020. Tag us at PitchRoof. Make sure you tag the speakers who just were on live here, and send them a DM too. I'm sure they would be super appreciative if you guys send them a DM going, hey guys, really cool session. It's just chucked you a follow. I just want to reach out and say thanks. I know they'd be super appreciative about that. Couple other things I want to run through before we just end today. So I just want to run you guys through a couple of other sessions that we've got upcoming. So it's currently, what time are we? It's almost 1 a.m. in the morning here where we are in Australia. And so we're probably going to duck off for the night, but we have a few things coming up. First off, there's a bunch of mentoring sessions, which I load up my calendar and I can tell you what they are. So literally straight after this, if you're a VIP, you get access to our mentoring sessions. So we had Steph Hammerlink on before talking about brand strategy. He's doing a mentoring session. We have Bless, who was on just before, and Fija Bogomalova. And that's kind of the mentoring sessions over the next few hours. So if you're a VIP, you get access to that. And then also make sure to join us in the morning for our time, or 11 p.m. GMT for a workshop with Dane Walker. We'll just jump back to that schedule screen real quick. Dane's got a super awesome talk about monetizing your community. And then we've got a networking session, which I highly recommend you guys join if you can, from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. So just on the frontrow.design/watch, there's a link up top that says network. You click on there, you can join one of our small networking rooms. It's a really good opportunity to meet some other creative event attendees like you guys. And then last but not least, to finish it all up, we have a massive closing keynote, which is going to be similar to what we did now, which was live Q&A, but we've got some amazing names. We've got like Michael Janda, we've got Melinda Livesey, we've got Brandon Gross, the list goes on and on. You guys definitely have to tune in for the finale of Frontrow2020. So that's basically it. If you guys want to check out our sponsors, Adobe XD and Holobrief, the links for them will be in the description. Without them, none of this would be possible. I do want to say a massive thanks to my team. So it's Tom Bouquet on Head of Broadcast, Matt Hayward, who's our CTO, Ben Martin, who's our production assistant, Billy Wilson, who's our freelance editor, Courtney Zudema, who's our personal assistant. We also have Lawrence Digital for the animations that you see on screen, and also Drop Music Branding for our amazing audio branding. That's it from me, guys. I'm going to go get some sleep because it's 1 a.m. I'll see you guys in the morning my time. Have an awesome rest of your day. Have a good sleep wherever you are. And we'll see you all very soon.